Victor Hugo is often credited with the saying, "One cannot resist an idea whose time has come." Unfortunately, this saying does not apply to Nikola Tesla because his ideas and inventions were way ahead of their time. The famed inventor envisioned devices that seemed to the common man and woman from the 19th and early 20th century to be the product of witchcraft or simply a fantasy. While he was ahead of his time, Tesla was no sorcerer. The path he followed to get from where he was born and raised to the heights of his fame was arduous and full of risks. Where others would have quit, he endured and did everything possible to further the development of our civilization. Many believe that if Tesla wasn't censored today, we would be living in a utopian society powered by free, unlimited energy, and our technological advancement would allow us to traverse the stars and explore other planets. While there is still much mystery surrounding his life and death, perhaps the most intriguing of mysteries lay in his inventions that never fully saw the light of day. With the intellect and creative prowess he possessed, we can only begin to imagine the thoughts and ideas he had, but never shared. What we do have is a small fraction, a record of the incredible inventions that he either discussed, began building, or had actual working prototypes. These were never fully developed or deployed, at least not to the public knowledge, but have the potential to be world-changing, some for better and some for worse. The earthquake machine. The steam-powered oscillator Tesla had been working on was as unassuming as could be. He had applied for and been given a patent for it, and its purpose was to generate electricity. The idea was to use the steam-powered oscillator to create various frequencies. If the frequency matched the resonance frequency, a receiving device should transform the mechanical oscillations back into an electrical current. It turns out that electricity wasn't the only thing it could generate. One day, while working on the steam-powered mechanical oscillator, Tesla decided to tune the oscillator to the frequency of the building in which his laboratory was located in New York City. Shockingly, even to Tesla, the small oscillator shook the entire building, almost causing it to collapse. In Tesla's own words, "Suddenly all the heavy machinery in the place was flying around. The building would have been down about our ears in another few minutes." Outside in the street, there was pandemonium. People in the area immediately called police and ambulance, fearing an earthquake was occurring. Fearing for his life and the life of others, Tesla smashed the oscillator with a hammer, stopping it from shaking the building to pieces. Having destroyed the machine, he instructed his staff to say nothing of the incident. The police were called and came to investigate, but found nothing suspicious. Imagine the potential of a machine that you could tune to any frequency it spawned. In Tesla, the idea for a geodynamic oscillator, which would have the same effect but on the Earth. He imagined that it could, if appropriately tuned, prevent earthquakes, or if tuned improperly, accidentally, or not so accidentally, cause earthquakes and be used as a tectonic weapon that can win many wars by causing earthquakes, volcanoes, tsunamis, and other seismic events. In specified locations, a government possessing such a weapon could dominate any nation on the planet. Tesla made sure this machine never materialized, but there are speculations that the United States possesses a device similar to Tesla's oscillator and can use it to cause earthquakes in specific points of the planet. The potential of this invention is as powerful as catastrophic, so no wonder Tesla smashed his device with a hammer and stopped its development. The death ray. On July 11, 1934, the inventor described a new weapon for the first time in the New York Sun and the New York Times newspapers as being able to be used against ground-based infantry or for anti-aircraft purposes. The press called it a death ray. Tesla announced to the world the astonishing new invention, which was a particle beam projector that Tesla intended to be used as an instrument of national defense. He called his system Teleforce. With this machine, he declared that the nation could bring destruction upon invading armies and shoot down fleets of incoming aircraft at a distance of 200 miles, or 400 kilometers away. While the basic beam weapon concept was first revealed in 1934 on Tesla's 78th birthday, specific details about the actual device have been difficult to obtain. 10 years before his death in July 1934, Nikola Tesla described the new superweapon for the first time as the defense weapon that will end all wars forever. Newspapers around the country called it death rays, death beam, diabolical rays, and also a device like bolts of Thor. Tesla's idea was to accelerate mercury isotope to 43 times the speed of sound in a pressurized vacuum chamber via electrostatic repulsion and shoot it in a beam towards a target. As the optimistic humanitarian as he is, Tesla believed this particle beam projector could be used as a defense weapon that would bring an end to war, in his own words. My apparatus projects particles which may be relatively large or of microscopic dimensions, enabling us to convey to a small area at a great distance, trillions of times more energy than is possible with rays of any kind. Many thousands of horsepower can thus be transmitted by a stream thinner than a hair so that nothing can resist. The nozzle would send concentrated beams of particles through the free air of such tremendous energy that they will bring down a fleet of 10,000 enemy airplanes at a distance of 200 miles from a defending nation's border and will cause armies to drop dead in their tracks. Tesla's device even made the New York Times front page, announcing Tesla at 78 bears new death beam, writing that when put in operation, Dr. Tesla said this latest invention of his would make war impossible. This death beam, he asserted, would surround each country like an invisible Chinese wall, only 1,000,000 times more impenetrable. It would make every nation impregnable against attack by airplanes or by large invading armies by the end of the year. Tesla was unsuccessfully attempting to obtain funding from the son of J.P. Morgan, Jack Morgan. He wrote a letter to Jack Morgan describing the power of the defense weapon. I have made recent discoveries of inestimable value. The flying machine, meaning airplanes, has completely demoralized the world, so much that in some cities, as London and Paris, people are in mortal fear from aerial bombing. The new means I have perfected afford absolute protection against this and other forms of attack. These new discoveries, which I have carried out experimentally on a limited scale, have created a profound impression. One of the most pressing problems seems to be the protection of London, and I'm writing to some influential friends in England hoping that my plan will be adopted without delay. The Russians are very anxious to render their borders safe against Japanese invasion, and I have made them a proposal which is being seriously considered. Tesla made an offer to give the Teleforce or Death Ray to the League of Nations as a means to prevent any future wars. But the US government did everything possible to deny Tesla, as they wanted to be the only country possessing the superweapon and wished to prevent it from falling into the hands of any other government. In the following years, Tesla stated that there had been many attempts to steal his invention, saying his office had been infiltrated and many of his papers scrutinized. But the thieves or spies, always left empty-handed. This led many to believe that Tesla's death ray was nothing but a concept, an idea only in the mind of Tesla. That is until Nikola Tesla's birthday press conference, where he disclosed more on the matter when he was asked about his weapon. This is what he said: "But it is not an experiment. I have built, demonstrated, and used it. Only a little time will pass before I can give it to the world." How is this possible? How could Tesla have demonstrated the destructive power of such a weapon and no one would even notice? If such a powerful weapon was tested, the effects would surely be very observable. Well, it depends on where you're looking. The answer to this question was not in the densely populated New York City where Tesla was working. It was thousands of miles away in the remote forests of Siberian Russia. There, on June 30, 1908, something remarkable happened near the Podka-Manaya Tunguska River, where an unexplained force caused a massive explosion, flattening some 500,000 acres, 2,000 square kilometers of Siberian forest. Russian scientists estimate the explosion to be equivalent to 10 to 20 megatons of TNT, 1,000 times more powerful than the atomic bomb dropped on Hiroshima, witnesses reported. Being a bluish light as bright as the sun moving across the sky, a flash and a powerful sound were said to follow it. The authorities explained the event as an asteroid impact, the largest asteroid impact in recorded history. But the mysterious aspect of the event was that no crater was ever found. How could a giant asteroid crash there without even leaving a small crater behind? There's another explanation. It's believed that Tesla built his death ray at Wardenclyffe on Long Island, and he decided to test it in 1908. According to the story, Tesla's plan was to project the particle beam of the death ray in the remote and uninhabitable parts of the Arctic, but for unknown reasons, the beam missed and crossed the polar region over into Siberia, where it hit the area near Tunguska River. After hearing about the unexplainable event in Tunguska, Tesla, thankful that no one was killed, dismantled his machine as he felt it was too dangerous to keep it. Interestingly, in 2014 the American military deployed weapons that sound very similar to what Tesla described, though not on such a massive scale. They call these weapons direct energy weapons and have been used in active combat. Could they have had their inspiration or perhaps initial plans and schematics from Tesla? We will likely never know. The flying machine. Any inventor of Tesla's caliber always had their eyes towards the sky. The idea of being able to travel through the air at supersonic speeds was a dream for Tesla. The difference between what we have today and what Tesla saw was the manner of propulsion we use. If you visit the central area of Belgrade, Serbia, you can find the Nikola Tesla Museum, a huge science museum dedicated to honoring the life and work of Nikola Tesla. The museum contains more than 160,000 original documents, many of which offer a rare insight into some of Tesla's futuristic ideas. One of these documents contains drawings of an anti-gravity ship, which seems to be using some sort of field propulsion. This is what Tesla wrote in his journals. After these experiments, I planned to build a flying machine which could fly not only in the air but with an interplanetary space. The principle of operation of the flying machine is as follows. Towards the flight direction, compression of the ether is to become weaker by the generator installed in the flying machine. As the ether keeps pressing with prior intensity from all other sides, then the flying machine began moving. Being within this flying machine, you will not feel it speeding up as the ether is not to hamper your movement. I had to abandon my plans to create the flying machine. There were two reasons for it. First, I have no money to work in secret, but the main reason is that the Great War began in Europe and I wouldn't like my inventions used to kill. When on Earth will these mad men stop? Apparently, Tesla was really fascinated by the idea of anti-gravity vehicles. As early as 1906 we can find a letter to the New York Sun newspaper in which Tesla wrote, "I've announced this in advance and my patents and technical articles have fully exposed my methods and appliances, and have given an account of my experiments about flying aircrafts using transmitted power." Could this mean that Tesla was working on flying vehicles 8 years before the first powered flight of the Wright brothers? The only reason these anti-gravity ships did not become a reality was that Tesla planned to power them with his network of Wardenclyffe towers that were going to broadcast wireless free energy to the entire planet. Multiple Tesla coils would create an extremely high electrostatic charge on the outside of the vehicle. By firing these Tesla coils in rapid succession, a powerful, rapidly rotating electrostatic field would be created. This would develop charge on the whole of the ship, which would be opposed by the earth and air. As the electrostatic field acts on a far greater volume of air, the aircraft would be able to fly. Unfortunately, the world governments and giant corporations could not allow a network of towers transmitting completely free wireless energy to the planet. This would destroy billions of dollars of profits for fossil fuel companies. So in 1917 the United States demolished Tesla's Wardenclyffe Tower, which was never to be built again, and that made the construction of anti-gravity vehicles impossible. Wireless energy. This leads us to possibly the most well-known and popular invention of Tesla, his wireless energy generator. The world would be a different place today if energy could be transmitted wirelessly. The most frustrating part of this invention is that the tower was actually built, financed by J.P. Morgan and others. In 1901 Tesla built the Wardenclyffe Tower, but he seemed to have bigger and better plans. All people everywhere should have free energy sources. Electric power is everywhere present in unlimited quantities and can drive the world's machinery without the need for coal, oil or gas. Tesla dreamed that he could create and perfect the ability to wirelessly transmit electricity enough to power all of New York City. He needed to create a network of Wardenclyffe towers that would harness the energy emitted from the Earth and deliver free energy throughout the planet. When wireless is perfectly applied, the whole Earth will be converted into a huge brain, which in fact it is, all things being particles of a real and rhythmic whole. Of course J.P. Morgan would never finance something that would bring a source of free energy to the world, because that would destroy his monopoly on fossil fuels. For this reason, Tesla told him that his tower was a radio transmitting tower. Later, when J.P. Morgan discovered Tesla's true intentions, he pulled out all of his funding and the project was shut down. It was eventually torn down and sold for scraps to pay for the debts that Tesla defaulted on. The media called it Tesla's million-dollar folly. Humiliated and defeated, Tesla's dream of creating a new and better world was destroyed. Remote-controlled navies and artificial tidal wave. In 1898 Tesla made a public demonstration in Madison Square Garden where he revealed a prototype for remote-controlled Navy ships. He also discussed the ability to remotely operate submarines and even missiles with the military. The idea was that with ships being remotely operated, there would be no human life lost during naval warfare. Tesla thought this would save countless lives if implemented worldwide. Regardless of what Tesla thought, the concept of remote-controlled navies seemed to be too far-fetched for even the top military brass at the time, and as far as we know, not one military contract arose from his discussions with them. They simply didn't believe such a thing was possible despite Tesla's demonstration. While this may seem like a loss for Tesla, it simply shows how far ahead of his peers he was at the time. Consider this: today, all submarines and missiles are guided by GPS and are operated essentially remotely. But Tesla had one more idea of how to use these remote control ships. The artificial tidal wave was an invention that was dreamed up by Tesla to render opposing Navy ships and naval invasion useless. He imagined that a fleet of remote control ships, or automatons as he called them, would get close enough to an enemy fleet to detonate an explosive charge. By creating a sufficiently large enough detonation, you could create an artificial tidal wave. He had done the math and determined the size of the explosion that you would need to create a 100-foot high tidal wave up to a mile away. This tidal wave would sweep through an enemy fleet and destroy or render inoperable all of the vessels. In theory, this would save more lives by not allowing war to be waged, which was a goal Tesla strived for. He believed that if it could be done, he should use science to alleviate suffering in war. Nikola Tesla had one of the longest-lasting and impactful legacies of any inventor ever. No doubt these inventions were ideas way ahead of their time. Tesla was a visionary. He envisioned a new, better world for humanity in his own words. A new world must be born, a world that would justify the sacrifices offered by humanity. This new world must be a world in which there shall be no exploitation of the weak by the strong, of the good by the evil, where there will be no humiliation of the poor by the violence of the rich, where the products of intellect, science, and art will serve society for the betterment and beautification of life, and not the individuals for achieving wealth. This new world shall not be a world of the downtrodden and humiliated, but of free men and free nations, equal in dignity and respect. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please hit the like button, and if you're new, hit subscribe and the bell next to it for future notifications.